You're listening to the Late Night Football Show with your host, Rohit Singh. That's me. On this show, we talk about some of the most seriously silly topics from the world of football for your entertainment and enjoyment. Please remember that the show is BYOL. Bring your own laughs, since we don't have the budget for a studio audience. Happy listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Late Night Football. We are a day late, and it's going to be late night somewhere when this comes out. It's not going to be late night when I upload it in Toronto, at least. But nonetheless, we had some technical issues. To be honest, I was quite bored after watching the Chelsea United game, so I was like, I don't want to do a reaction show after watching what I saw. I don't know what I saw. But we're doing it today. We've had a bit of a day to reflect as well on what we've seen. We've got Zeehan here with us, joining me today for this show. And Zeehan is smiling because I think in some ways, both the results that we're talking about, they kind of went your way. At least one and a half of the two, I think, went your way.
Well, I can't say I can complain.
Well, one and three quarters, I think. Yeah, I think in the way that it was set up. But we'll talk about the games. And we just completed the the Everton Southampton game. I think that we'll also have some big repercussions for what the league is going to be. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But we're going to focus more on the games from yesterday. And let's get started. Let's talk about the first one, the El Clasico. Let's go to Spain. Interesting game. I think it was more entertaining than we thought it would be. I was just talking about it before the show began. I think it was much more entertaining than we thought, much more open. But just starting with the lineup, I think Koeman took a brave call. I think a lot of people praised him for it. What do you think? Because he started with three teenagers in his lineup. Not many people expected that, but I suppose it's good for him, right? To trust the players who've done well so far instead of going for big names.
No, definitely. I mean, I think I've heard a lot of people complaining about Ansu Fati's inclusion, but I mean, come on, he's been on really hot form, and right now is about the time that the youngsters need to come into the foray and they need to step up and they need to be given the chance. And since they're rebuilding, I mean, come on, teenagers, they need to be included, yeah. Especially right now is the best time to learn under, Messi.
Yeah, and I mean it's good because you exclude big names, but if the big names are not performing and they're not giving what you want, you go with the players who perform. So there's nothing wrong with that. There was a bit of a tactical change though, because most people thought that Coutinho would play in midfield, but he played Coutinho on the wing to basically make room for Fati to play through the center. So maybe that might have been an issue. But then where else do you play Fati if you're not going to play a striker, which they didn't play? The only option would then be either to play Pedri as a false nine or play Fati as a striker. So he did that, which worked. It actually worked in that first half at least. I thought Barcelona were the better team on balance for the 90 minutes. You would say they were I don't know if you agree with that, but I thought they were the better team over the course of the 90 minutes. The substitutions, I think at the 75th, 80th minute, they changed the game. Then Real Madrid had 3-4 quick chances in that second half. But I think aside from the last 10-15 minutes, I thought Barca on balance, and people will say that was just my opinion, was that Barcelona were getting a lot of good chances and Madrid were kind of hanging on, at least in the first 15-20 minutes of the second half. I don't know what your impression of the game was. You're a Madrid fan, so you probably might disagree, but what was your impression of the game as a whole?
Well, first of all, one thing I have to say is hats off to the defense from Madrid. They've been so leaky in recent times, and Ramos just proved one thing. He is Captain Ramos. He's a leader. Very good defensive organization. Of course, they did concede that one goal, but it's Barcelona. Letting in one goal, you would expect that. And I think ever since, right after they conceded that goal, right till then, Madrid were probably a bit shaky. The attack they seemed out of sorts a bit. The defense was probably still struggling to get into their line, but right after they conceded, I don't know, maybe Ramos shouted at his players enough. Very good defensive organization, overall good performance from both teams. Barcelona is an attacking threat. We've seen that this match. Like you've said, yes, I do agree with you. Barcelona has had a stronger hold on the match, but again, the defense let them down.
Yeah. And that is where the issue, I think that's where the issue is for Barcelona, isn't it? It's that defense. The first goal that Madrid scored, Busquets, I think, let Valverde run through, and he then goes and finishes. Maybe he thought Valverde was not going to get a chance to shoot, but that was bad defending. The second goal, was that a penalty? Let's just start. Was that a penalty that Madrid got? Do you think that should have been given? Do you think that was a legit penalty?
No, any day. I mean, honestly, it was needless. Yes, it was a needless penalty, but that has to be a penalty all day. I mean, the way it went down. I mean, probably the
Oh, we
referee
don't have
doesn't
a
see
Barcelona
it.
fan to counter, so we'll have to take your word for it.
No.
Um,
I mean, I think by the exact rules, it does go into a penalty book for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's a penalty, and I think sometimes people just, I think just that word penalty, I think this sometimes gets people into debates, and they sometimes think, well, it shouldn't be or not. But yes, but after that second goal, and then Barcelona made these changes, it almost seemed like, I mean, the I read an article and said the changes made Barcelona worse because of what happened, but it did feel like Real Madrid suddenly were just like getting chances. They had like two or three chances before that goal that they scored. Neto made some really good saves to keep Barcelona in the game. I mean, it just in some ways, it justified Koeman's selection at the start of the game because imagine if they had played that team for the full 90 minutes. But it just felt like Barcelona, I don't know, maybe it was a mental thing. Maybe they were shot. Maybe they were like, well, we're not coming back in this game now. And they almost just gave up. Or maybe Madrid grew in confidence. It's unlikely to see a Clasico where the leading team in the last 10 minutes is actually doing much better than, when you're 2-1 up, you think, okay, we're going to try and defend. But actually, they were just like looking, they were more likely to score the third goal, which they did.
Well, I guess Madrid were just working on momentum there. They scored the second goal. I mean, which actually puts them one goal ahead. And this is El Clasico. So you do know that in this kind of a match, one goal leads are never enough. Zidane is mature enough to understand that, and he puts his team on the front. And it's always there are two things in a football game. You're always more likely to concede right after you score, and you also have more momentum more right after you score. So I guess Zidane's influence on going on that front pedal right after scoring that was great. That is what did ultimately lead to the third goal. And again, the leaky defense. That's it. I honestly, if Barca did not have that, we could have seen the result going the opposite way easily.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't fixed that issue though yet. They haven't yet fixed them. And I think the back four that started probably is their best back four. You might make a case for Umtiti, but I don't know if he would have improved that defense much. So, I mean, that probably is the best back four that Barcelona have at this point. And for them to basically not be able to come away with that might be an issue. It might affect them. But one thing though is what I noticed is that it was very end to end, and it's good to watch as a neutral. But you kind of see why those two teams are struggling a bit in Europe because you can't really play like that against the the Bayern Munichs, the Liverpools of the world. You can't play like that because if you do, you're going to get picked off very quickly. So maybe that offers us it's great entertainment, but it also offers a clue as to why the two teams are struggling in Europe, isn't it? That and why they're unlikely to do. I mean, things can change between now and May. We know that, but it seems like that's one of the reasons why they have sort of fallen behind a little bit in the Champions League race at this point. Is
I
that?
mean, yeah. Again, this entire thing comes down to the fact that both teams are rebuilding. Uh, Obviously, they're not. I don't expect them to play like this against, like you said, the PSGs and the Bayern Munichs and the Liverpools. We should give them about 6-7 roughly this kind of time to get their feet on the ground and kind of organize this entire team. I mean, being a Chelsea fan, I can tell you that sometimes time is needed, right? I mean, we got all these new players and all of them need to be settled in. So even if Barcelona have or Madrid have not really brought in new players, they're kind of changing their entire structure around, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, since the Champions League, they obviously don't have those big teams to face right now. Maybe come February, if the calendar is going to go like normal, or whenever they start the knockout stages, I think by then they have this entire thing sorted out.
Yeah, that's the hope. That is the hope for sure. Who was your man of the match for this game?
My man of the match, unpopular opinion, but it has to go to Ramos.
Ramos. Oh, why is that unpopular? I think most people would agree. Well, probably would give it to
Because
Ramos. Yeah, I don't know if it's unpopular, but yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose he did a good job. I think he defensively kept it tight after that first goal. They needed a few blocks and definitely did scored a good goal as well, won the penalty. So yeah, I think on balance, I would go with Neto. I mean, I'll just say Neto because I think he made a few good saves in that second half that would have kept. I can't make a case for any Barcelona player to otherwise to be man of the match. I don't know, but yeah, we'll say Neto. Why not? Let's give something to Barcelona from this game. Maybe they can be happy. They've got two good goalkeepers. I think that's something. It's not always the best thing to have, but yeah, two good goalkeepers. They have two good goalkeepers, and I think that's definitely a positive to take for them from this game. But on that note, I think it's a congratulations to Real Madrid, congratulations to their fans for winning the El Clasico. Zidane now has still not lost at the Nou Camp. It's a very interesting statistic, and I used to
Six
actually.
matches.
Yep. And Ayush correctly predicted the score 3-1. Was it Ayush? I think it was Ayush, wasn't it? Yeah, he predicted 3-1 to Madrid.
3-1 was mine.
Oh, yours. Oh, that was yours. Yes, Gian, that was yours.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
1-1
yeah.
was Ayush's prediction for something else. Yes, no, 3-1, that was your prediction. So congratulations for getting the prediction right. I think that might be. I think we had two predictions right this week. So, well, actually, maybe three. I'll come. We'll come to that. But yes, for sure, it was interesting and definitely a good game to watch. But Champions League coming up for them now. Borussia Mönchengladbach. They need to win that one because they just got off to such a bad start in the competition.
Right.
They need to win that one. So hopefully they'll take some confidence from this and come through. Yeah, definitely worth watching for that this Tuesday. All right, let's talk about the Premier League. Let's move on to the Premier League now, and we'll talk about West Ham against Manchester City. The game that, well, we all thought it was going to go differently, and it didn't. 1-1 draw. Ayush predicted that currently. That's what Ayush predicted. 1-1 draw for West Ham, and well, maybe we got to get him on this show and have him predict wins for Chelsea and Manchester United, or at least Manchester United. Then maybe they will come true. But he got it right. And I didn't expect it. It just so it looks. So here's the thing. This was a good chance for City now because Liverpool was struggling coming into this game, or at least that was a narrative that they were struggling. So you've got a chance now for City to really build a lead, build something, and take it forward. It just, I mean, I don't know what is wrong with City. I mean, people say it's defense, but they considered a goal from it. You could say it was a bit of an error from Garcia or the defense, but it's just offensively also like it looks like something. I don't know if it's De Bruyne missing. I don't know if it's David Silva leaving, but there is something missing in that. And let's start with the defense, though. I mean, that first goal, would it happen if Company or Laporte? I don't know if Laporte was playing, but if Company was playing, that goal wouldn't happen, would it? I mean, it just feels like Michael Antonio had the freedom to do whatever he wants in that goal. And Antonio is a good striker, but he shouldn't be allowed to be making those kind of shots, taking those kind of shots. Zeehan, sorry.
No, I mean, I think you actually identified the problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Sorry, we
if
have
I
a few
may.
technical
Yeah,
issues.
so I think you identified the problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you just talked about Silva leaving and Company not being there. So, regardless of all these players that they're buying, leadership is something you can just buy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Man City lack right now is that cutting edge, that grit, that passion that Company would bring, or the motivation you'd get when you see David Silva. I don't know. I guess it's that organization because you see Man City with 60% possession, 70% possession. They're taking all these shots. They're making all of these passes. But that final third, that cutting edge, and even in the defense, when they have that organization, it's just not there right now. It's just not there. There's no real leader driving the team forward. That somebody comes up when the team is down. I don't just see that anymore right now. You have players like Aguero and all of that, but even they need to be spurred on.
Yeah, and it's tough, isn't it? But I mean, the one thing that we're talking about when it comes to leaders and leadership, there are certain players there. It just I can't I don't know whether it's motivation as well because you've got to. This is a chance for you to pull back Liverpool now. If you can't do it now with Van Dijk out, you won't be able to do it. So you've got that motivation. So it can't be that motivation is an issue. It just feels like there is there's something holding them back or something's wrong. Maybe teams have figured out the tactics. I don't know. But let's talk about, before we talk about the offense, I want to talk about Michael Antonio because I think he's a player who doesn't get a lot of recognition. I think he's a very underrated player a little bit. I know there was talk about him going to England and playing for England, which obviously hasn't happened yet. I don't know if it will happen now. But he has... oh, sorry, Gian? Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with the connection.
Yeah, you've been having some internet issues, but yes, it's a bit delay. But can you hear me now?
Now it seems completely perfect.
I hope so. So Michael Antonio, like a really good, very underrated striker. Really, I think he's one of the things that's keeping West Ham afloat at this point. But he's a good striker. He's a decent player on his day. It's just injuries, right?
I mean, that's the thing with players from West Ham and Leeds and all. You see the results and all, but you just don't highlight the players. West Ham seems to have so much quality in their ranks. I mean, the last 5 results or 4 results, 4-0 against Wolves, the 3-3 against Tottenham, the one all right now, the one we're talking about. Right before that, they beat Leicester too, right?
Yeah, 3-0 Leicester.
Uh, right. I mean, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. And a few years ago, just a few years ago, we were mocking David Moyes for his quality, against his quality. And look at what he's doing right now with West Ham. I think West Ham are far above Man United right now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So
it's not a very high
kudos to
bar
all of
to
those
jump.
players right now.
So
And I don't know how far they go.
yeah, that's the thing with West Ham. They always look good at a time.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're
Yeah. No, they always look
right,
good for
right.
a time, West Ham. I always back West Ham to do well at the
I mean,
start of the season. I think that they're going to be a threat. And then all of a sudden something happens and they don't. So I don't know if this season's going to be different. We'll see. But it is an interesting point about David Moyes as well. One thing at the season preview, Adarsh, a City fan, said that West Ham were going to get relegated this season, and well, they beat they drew with Man City 1-1. So it's an interesting. I don't know. Adarsh just wants to change his prediction, but yeah, it's interesting. Just a little bit of shout out there. If Adarsh is watching the show, just a little bit of a nudge for him about his prediction. But let's talk about that about City, and they did score through Phil Foden. It was a wonderful goal, and Phil Foden looks like someone who's he's starting to pick up steam now. We've been critical of Pep and how he's handled Foden, but it looks like he's starting to mature. He's starting to blossom. He's getting those opportunities now. But aside from that goal, I mean, we have to talk about Raheem Sterling. He seems like he's one of those players who's on that cusp of that world. I wouldn't call him world class. I know some people want to call him world class. I don't know if he's world class. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But or maybe he is world class. But you get to a point at world class where you just need to take that one step forward, and then you can become like this legendary player, this really amazing player. And it just feels like composure. I don't know what it's composure. He lacks that composure to convert those chances, because I think he had two or three chances in this game. He just didn't take them, and you just wonder if someone like Lewandowski would miss them or someone like Ronaldo would miss them, and they wouldn't. But it just I don't know what's wrong, but maybe it's lack of composure. But do you get that feeling when you watch Sterling as well, where you almost expect him to miss chances? It's like you almost expect him not to score, and then he'll score 1 in 5 maybe.
I mean, for me, Sterling is basically an upgraded version of Theo Walcott. I mean,
That's a bit harsh.
we keep
I
seeing
will say
that.
it's a bit harsh, but okay.
I mean, not that bad. I mean, see it this way. I think that his trademark run, he starts in from that left, and mind you, he's very agile. He's very, very agile. He
Mhm.
can just suddenly make that turn that sometimes even Messi could congratulate, and you wouldn't even know. He could turn two players at one time, but he cuts in, he gets past three or four or even five players, and then he shoots right at the goalkeeper. So composure, pressure, because if he doesn't have that composure, he doesn't get past those players. Maybe it's just a lack of finishing. It's just that lack of striker's awareness, if you know what I mean. Or maybe it's just the way I see it is Man City have a world class striker. There's no doubt about that. We don't know. I don't know about Sterling, but Aguero is world class. So the way Pep Guardiola
Mhm.
usually works is, at least what I've seen before, even with Barcelona, he always had that target man. He always wanted that goals to come from the strike force. So every time I've seen it, and mostly his midfields have been creative, like the De Bruyne, Silva, Bernardo Silva, Sterling, everybody passing well. So probably Sterling is kind of used to this mantra of passing the ball to Aguero and then he finishes and he scores. But when Aguero's not there, he's lost. What do I do? Do I finish? Do I pass? And maybe he gets caught at two minds, and that's where he messes up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he scores lots of goals. He scored 20 plus goals. I think he scored 30 goals last season in all competitions. He definitely scored 20 plus. I'm not sure if he scored 30, but he scored 20 plus goals. So he does score goals. He's got goals in him. It's just, when those pressure moments, those big moments, you wouldn't want Sterling to have the ball to score a goal. I mean, it's almost like that. Like if you see, he missed a chance against Lyon as well, that big chance that he had against Lyon. He missed it, but it was 1-1. They went on to lose that game. Even yesterday, it just feels like if you're 0-0 and if you're looking for someone to score early in the game, Sterling, he scored against Leeds, so it's not like he can't score goals. So he scored a goal, but if it's a pressure moment where you really want a goal and it's a game that you must win, you would. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a City fan, so I don't know. But as a rival fan, I'm a little bit relaxed when Sterling has the ball, because I know that there's a 50%, 60% chance that he's going to miss the shot. Now I've said it. Next week he's going to go and score a hat trick. I know that's going to happen. Not that I've jinxed him, but you just feel like with Sterling, like it's
Maybe he
almost
might
like
score a hat trick against your team.
yeah, I know. I know what I've done. But it just feels with Sterling, it just feels like, with other strikers, you're like, oh, he's got the ball. Oh, it's going to be a goal, right? And 80% of the time, it's a goal. With Sterling, it's like 50%, 40% that it will be a goal. And that's kind of sad to see because I like English players doing well. But it just, I don't know. I don't know what something's missing from Sterling's game. And he's 25, 26 now. So I don't know if he's going to get it. But yeah, there's something that he needs to work on. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe he's too fast for his own good, so sometimes he doesn't realize that how fast he's going, and before he knows it, he's near goal, and then he's got to take a shot, and he can't make his mind up. I don't know what the issue is, but there is something there that's missing, and it's affecting City, sadly. But on that note, Gian, who was your man of the match for that game?
Uh, this is kind of embarrassing because I actually don't know his name, but it was the center back from West Ham. He was relentless.
Ogbonna?
Uh, yes,
Ogbonna.
yes. He might not have been the flashiest player, but I have to give this man of the match. Or I have to put the performance onto West Ham's defense, and the center back pairing was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. The midfield obviously did their job too, but against a team like City, you're not getting a draw if the defense is not top notch.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, definitely, the defense held out very much well, and I think it's a good point for West Ham. And I don't think they will challenge for Europe. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but a top half definitely seems achievable. But we don't know what's achievable at
Definitely,
this point. I
definitely.
mean, maybe 17th is a big achievement considering the way things are going. I don't know what's going to happen this season, but definitely West Ham seem at the moment it's like they won't be one of the three worst teams in the league. I don't think they will be. And I think they should be fine at least base. But there's only 6 games, so we don't know yet. We're not even. We're only a sixth of the way of the season through. So, all right, let's talk about United Chelsea now, the blockbuster clash of the weekend for the Premier League. And I mean, it was a damn squib. I think there's no words to describe it. I predicted a draw. I don't know if anybody else predicted a draw, but I predicted a draw. I didn't predict 0-0, but I mean, I'll take that one. I'll take that we got one right. You guys got one right. I should get one too. But yeah, a draw. And
Yeah, why
it
not?
was, there are exciting nil-nil draws, and then there are boring nil-nil draws. And I think this one was one of those boring nil-nil draws. I mean, let's start with the lineups. And I don't know about let's talk about. I mean, it almost felt like Lampard became Ollie and Ollie became Lampard, because normally you have Ollie going with the back five, packing the midfield and hoping to hit on the break. Lampard plays his 4-3-3, attacking, tries to go attack. It almost felt like Lampard this time said, you know what, he's caught me 3 times. I'm gonna play with the back five because I don't want to expose my defense. And Ollie was like, well, we played a back four and we got good results, so we'll go with the back four. It almost felt like a role reversal to me. But were you surprised seeing Chelsea play a back five, back three, back five, whatever you want to call it? Was it surprising to you? We didn't predict it in our show, but did you? Or did you? I don't know if you. I think maybe you predicted that he might go with the back five. But were you surprised seeing that team lineup? No Mount, no Jorginho.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the moment the lineups came in like half an hour or 1 hour before the match, I'm like, what team is this? And then I guess it made me think that the main focus here was defense. Don't concede. Man U's attack is relentless. That they might not have been on form this season, but they can attack. They can attack, and Lampard just wanted to keep that out. The midfield too, right after that, that obviously shocked me the most. The inclusion of Jorginho instead of Kovacic. But then again, that comes down to tactics. The other day, I guess we were discussing this. Lampard kind of has a problem with Kante. I guess that's a well-known fact right now. Kante has probably made his least number of appearances in a season in the last 5 years in the last season. And it wasn't just down to injury. The problem with Kante in Lampard's tactics is that Lampard prefers a DM that's what you actually call a holding midfielder, somebody that sticks, somebody that stays in that defensive midfield position. Kante is more of a full field midfielder, if you will say, probably a box to box, if you will. He likes to run, so he covers more distance than almost any other player on the pitch. That's why Jorginho comes into the pitch. Jorginho is more of that holding player that can spray those long balls up forward. But even then, we were kind of playing a counter-attacking style.
Yeah.
Obviously, with 5 defenders. So I guess in that situation, Kovacic might have been a better inclusion. The front three, well, that was expected. I think we discussed it that Ziyech would not be included. I don't know. I guess it's fitness. Maybe he does not integrate with the tactics well enough yet. But the five-man defense, as surprising as it was, it was necessary.
Well, if you're going to play five, you have to drop one of Ziyech, Havertz, Werner, or Pulisic. So I guess Ziyech made sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to drop one of them, you're going to drop Ziyech because he hasn't yet played up to speed. So it makes sense. I meant to say no Kovacic. I said no Georgina, but actually no Kovacic. But I mean, on the United side, and this is my opinion again, I thought Oli, I think he played reactionary. His lineup was reactionary because he tried to assume what Lampard would do. So the inclusion of James was probably to protect the left-hand side because that's probably where he was expecting Mount. Pulisic normally plays on the right. If Mount plays, then Pulisic plays on the right. So Mount plays on the left. So he figured that he'll have a little bit more protection on the left, on his left-hand side. So he added James. He played Mata because of probably wanting more creativity, and it makes sense. But I think he got it wrong. I think, and I mean, there are lots of things to take away, but that I think he got it wrong, and it just. I mean, he should have changed it at halftime. I think not playing Van. I mean, it's interesting though. Like we talk about United's strength in depth. If you think about it, Pogba, Van de Beek, Cavani, Greenwood, neither of them started. It was not the result that you want, but neither of them started against Chelsea. It is a weird thing. I mean, I wouldn't say our team is that. I wouldn't say United team is that strong that it can afford to drop all four of them, but they did drop for all four of them for the Chelsea game. So it was weird, but I didn't expect him to start with the back four. But I can kind of see it. I can kind of see why he didn't play Tuanzebe because he was playing his first game after years. So he probably wants to protect him. And he might feel that he needs him for the Leipzig game, which will be important now, and then probably play him against Arsenal as well. So that's 4 games in 2 weeks. You don't want to go that much. I can see if Van de Beek starts against Leipzig, then I can kind of understand why he didn't play him today. Though, I mean, we've been saying this. I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks that I think he's preserving him for the next game, but the next game comes and he doesn't play. So I'm starting to wonder if he doesn't play, if he doesn't start either the Leipzig or the Arsenal game, then I think there's some sort of issue there that we'll need to start thinking about what's going on. Because if he does, he has to start at least one of the next 2 games, if not both, for Van de Beek. But it just, I mean, with playing Matic and McTominay again, I think he assumed that Lampard was going to go attacking because otherwise you don't need both of them. If you're going to go up against a 5-2-3, you don't need Matic and McTominay. But I think I think he was reactionary, and I think he got it wrong. I think we have to admit that he got it wrong. And we'll talk a little bit more about personnel, but let's talk about the penalty decision first. The big one, Maguire and Azpilicueta. Was that a penalty? As a Chelsea fan, was that a penalty?
I won't talk as a Chelsea fan. I'll talk as a Man U fan because you're being a Man U fan. You obviously respect Patrice Evra. How many? I think he won 5 leagues with.
No. Right? Ex-players, I think they get it wrong sometimes. Like, what do you think?
Well,
penalty or not? I'll tell you as a United fan what I thought. I'll tell you what I thought as a United fan, but I want to as a Chelsea fan, what did you think?
No, I'll just quote what he said. Patrice Evra. He said that was not a tackle. That was a chokehold. This is not WWE. This is football, and I'll just say that. This is not WWE, that's football. I mean,
if it's WWE,
I remember this incident, I
chokehold.
think, with the Rashford incident.
Yeah.
Well, if it was WWE, in that case, he just slammed him to the ground. I'd probably call a slam something. I don't know. The Rashford incident, if you remember that when Kante clipped his heels, I'm not saying Rashford dived. He obviously didn't. There was contact.
No, it was Silva. It was Thiago Silva. Both of them were together.
Silva. Checked that.
I don't know. They said it was Silva who hit him, not Kante.
Sorry?
It was Thiago Silva, who made that clip at the back. Both of them were together. Kante and Silva, both either side of Rashford. Silva.
Either way. I'm sure the viewers understand what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So during that game, Thiago Silva, Kante, whoever it was, basically the incident with Rashford. I'm sure the viewers know what we're talking about by now.
Yeah.
I think VAR replayed that incident about 6 to 7 times, and that's completely fine. That's what VAR is there for. But how is it that the referee was not told about that incident even once? I mean, Maguire had a decent game, by the way. I think that other than that, his only other mistake that day was he accidentally headed the ball out when he was trying to head the ball towards Shaw. But other than that, he had a great game. But he literally strangleholded Aspi. He threw Aspi to the ground, and he was not even told about it once. So I don't know. That is definitely a penalty. I mean, not just 10 times out of 10 times. Probably 11 times out of 10 times. That has to be a penalty.
Yeah.
Even as a neutral fan, you got to admit. But there's something that
I'm a United fan, and I will tell you that it was a penalty. I think it was a stone cold penalty that I was like, what the hell are you doing, Harry? Why are you doing that? I was like, they're gonna blow it for VR and they're gonna go check it and he's gonna give it. And then it didn't come. And I was like, what is the ref? I don't know, they were smoking something at that point. He'd gone for smoke break, maybe the VR ref had gone for smoke break. I don't know what was going on, but it's just like, okay, we're not gonna see it. And then they were showing the Rashford one. And when you see like 4 or 5 checks, you're like, well, maybe he's gonna give it. He's gonna ask him to check it because they're looking at it so many times. But then of course he said no, there's nothing there, which is fair. I think I've seen those given, but it would have been harsh, and it shouldn't have been given. So it was fine. The other one. So I think I'll use that and say as a justification that it evened itself out. I'm obviously sure that Chelsea fans will probably not agree that it evened itself out. It didn't. But it's just weird. I mean, but that's the thing we talk about with English refs all the time. There's so much incompetence at the way that they handle these situations and the way that they do it, that it just makes them it doesn't suit the purpose that for what it was brought in. And we're keeping on talking about it, and we'll keep talking about it, and it's just the implementation has not been good of it. But if it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't be talking about anything else. Because quite frankly, I mean, when you look at the second half and you look at the substitutions, the one thing I noticed with Lampard was he changed players, but he didn't change the system. He still kept a back five throughout the game. And I said this on social media. I said it looked like Lampard had basically come into this game saying, "Whatever happens, I'm not going to lose today. I'll take a win if it comes, but I'm not going to lose. So I'm not going to change that back three." Even though it was quite obvious that United were there for the taking. I think United were there for the taking. A little bit of ambition, a little bit of attacking intent. They could have got to that back four if they wanted to, but I mean, he just seemed like he had no intention of even attempting to win the game, like to try and win the game. Which I don't know if that's what you saw, but that's kind of what I saw from Lampard. Was like, I'm not gonna try and win this game. I'm not gonna risk losing this game to win it. If it comes, I'll take it.
No, that's something I wanted to get to because yes, we were denied a stone cold penalty. Kind of reminds me of 2009 against Barcelona, but no, that was 6 penalties. This is just one. But truth be told, we actually had our backs against the wall. Man U clearly battered Chelsea. Man U had the better chances, and truth be told, if Mendy wasn't there, if it was Kepa, I think it would have been 5-0 or 4-0. I don't know. Without the penalty, Man U attacked a lot. They had a lot of intent going forward, a lot of potential, a lot of pressing. Chelsea did. I don't know if you'll say luck out, but the goalkeeper did save us in this instant. And I don't know. Maybe it's better to draw the game rather than win via penalty in a game that we were clearly battered. But one thing that must be said though, this game this does kind of bring a bit of hypocrisy amongst both fans. I mean, this would have been poetic justice if we did win the match through the penalty. I mean, if you think about it, and I don't mean this biasly. I try to be as nice as possible when I say this. For years, we've seen Man U getting away with it with their goalkeeper. I mean, against so many teams, we've seen what David De Gea had done. The game against Arsenal, the 3-1 win at Emirates, if you remember that. I mean, I think there was this point where Sanchez, or that our striker, he was not only on goal, the post was open, he was just in front of the post, and David De Gea suddenly springs out of nowhere and saves it. And that was just epitomizing that match. I think he made 27 saves in that game. It was some sort of
Yeah,
Premier League
it's
record,
not
as far
value.
as I
Yeah,
remember, or that season's record, something like that.
yeah,
So Man U have done that for years and years, and they come up with a scrappy goal. If Chelsea actually did manage to do that, it might have been poetic justice. But so
yeah.
Man U fans actually can't complain much about that, and neither can Chelsea fans. I actually think the 0-0, the draw, kind of suits both the teams, both fans and the teams.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it suits. Well, I mean, it depends on perspective. Some people will be happy with the 0-0 draw against Chelsea. I think some people will be happy with that. But I in this felt like if it wasn't, it was in some ways from Solskjaer's point of view, it was guessing what Chelsea were going to do rather than doing what was best for him. And that's kind of sad to see. He shouldn't have done that. He should have probably gone with with the best possible team that he could have put out, and that does not include James and Mata, unfortunately. I think he got many of the personnel wrong, and it Chelsea were there for the taking, and I get it. We should be, I'm not arrogant to say that they should have won the game, but I think a bit more ambition from either team. I think a bit more ambition, they probably would have won it. I think it was just a matter of who was willing to risk it to win it, and it seemed like neither one of them wanted to win it. And Lampard clearly didn't want to take that risk, and for good reason. I think he tried doing that in the last few games, and United parked the bus and then got the win. So he probably felt, let's try it this way. But the one thing that I will say though, I think we might have seen the last of Luke Shaw as a first choice left back. With Telles around, I just feel United have one of the best. I'm not saying the best, but they have one of the best defensive back fours. You could take out, if you take out Lindelof and Maguire, you put one Zeehan, but they've got one of the best defensive back fours in the league, maybe even in Europe. It's a bold claim, but they probably have. But offensively, that defense doesn't do much offensively, and that's, you can't win games and tournaments these days with having just a defensive back four. You need to have offensive capability, and that four doesn't have it. So I think Luke Shaw will. I think Van Bissaka is safe only because there's no other right back in the team that can do. Maybe Williams might be able to step up, but right now there's no right back that can do it. But Shaw, I think with Telles coming in, I think he has to start the next game. It was a bit of a sad thing because Chelsea were there for the taking aerially, and we didn't have anyone who could put crosses in. So I see Telles like he'll eventually. I think this might be the beginning of the end for Shaw as the first choice left back. He might still play in a back five, but I can't see him being first choice left back as long as Telles does what he does. Then I think he'll be first choice because it just there's issues there. But it was an interesting game, and it was interesting that we saw Cavani's debut. That would have been something. Cavani almost scoring with his first touch for Manchester United. The first touch that he gets, he puts it towards goal, and it goes off target. That would have been something. Some way to introduce yourself to the crowd, but it's not a lot of talking points. I think it's just it is sad though, because now Chelsea United, if they had won, one of them had won this game, they could have legitimately been in with the title shout. But I think the draw now, it probably means that I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the title race, but yeah, I mean, it would have been a long shot, but would have been interesting if one of them had won it. But it's a draw. I guess it suits Chelsea. I think it's 2 points. I think both teams will look at it as 2 points draw. But I think if you have to say that one person gained it, that's probably Chelsea. But Zeehan, who's your man of the match from that game?
Oh, without a doubt, Eduardo Mendy. Like I said, if he wasn't there, we would have lost 5-0 or 4-0.
And a couple of big saves. Yeah, I think yeah. I think it was one of those games where there was no standout performances, but the one standout performance you kind of acknowledge that. I think Chelsea for Mendy. I thought Kante had a pretty good game as well. He did a lot of snuffing out and was everywhere. But some of his passes are misplaced, but I thought he did a lot of good work in that midfield, just nullifying attacks and making sure having the players whenever he could. I think he did a good job in Bruno. I didn't see a lot from Bruno in this game, so definitely there. But yeah, Mendy, I think you cannot argue with that. I think Mendy was the best player on that field in a sea of unremarkable performances. He was good. Let's talk about Liverpool against Sheffield, and we're going to talk about VAR again with that penalty decision. Liverpool, there might be a conspiracy. I don't think there is a conspiracy, but there might be a conspiracy right now. But it looks like, the conspiracy is that I think the Premier League is trying to do everything it can to make this an exciting title race. I don't think they care who wins, but they just want to make it an exciting title race. So they're doing everything that they can because the other teams are clearly not doing anything. We just whatever, let Liverpool win. We don't care at this point. But was it a penalty? Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty?
The Sheffield one?
Yes, the Sheffield one.
Well, it was definitely a foul.
Okay.
I think we can agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people will not agree on that.
Now, the thing is, I saw the rule book.
Okay.
Oh, well, for those that don't agree with the foul thing, well, that's up to debate. But the problem was both feet did get involved. And according to the rule books, if the foul is judged to be on the line or inside of it,
yeah,
and the foul was judged to be on the line, then it's a penalty. So that's what the referee basically was taking his time on deciding, if the foul was on the line or outside of the line.
Yeah.
And since it was exactly on the line, and I think the replays did a good job of showing that it was actually on the line, it has to be a penalty. In that case, yes, it's harsh, it's really sad, but rules are rules, and by rules, yes, it is a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this a long time. I think the laws are a bit of an issue because how they're written and how they're interpreted makes a big difference because it's not always common sense. Yeah. It's you've got to follow the rules, and maybe the rules need to change as well in some cases. But as long as the rules are the rules, they have to follow them. And well, whether it's a foul or not is subjective. At the end of the day, any team will always say there's always going to be those subjective decisions. Is it a foul? Is it not a foul? Some people will say that making them, that a little bit of contact should be allowed, and people make the most of it and all of that. But I mean, it's all sorts of things, all sorts of gray areas. But with Liverpool, I think even with that penalty, though, the one thing that we can see now is that they still have that mentality, being able to fight back in these situations. And we called
Yeah,
it. You called it. I think you said that Firmino might play in midfield. As a number 10, that he might
yeah.
change, and he did that. He played Firmino in midfield, and he scored the goal in this game. So I think it kind of worked in some ways. It worked for him. But is this something that they will use for the time being? And they don't have a lot of options in central midfield anyway at this point. So it's something that they will probably go forward using that a little bit more. Firmino in midfield and then playing a 4-2-3-1 sort of formation.
Yeah, before I get to this, I actually kind of wanted to add to what we're talking about. The penalty thing, by rules, I mean, you have to do that. You have to do that. You have to give that penalty. But the goal that was ruled offside, this exact same thing happened against Everton. The exact same thing. I mean, I think this one was at least a little bit clearer. But the Mane offside against Everton, that was absolutely nothing. There
I,
has to be a bit of allowance.
I
One
think,
inch,
yeah.
2 inch. There has to be some allowance. I mean, they basically show the offside using a red and the blue line on VAR, right? I
Hmm.
mean, you couldn't differentiate between red and blue. It was
That's
so hard. You had to zoom into the screen and
yeah.
see, all right, so there's
That's
red and there's blue.
Yeah, that's why what I
So,
said, this my suggestion was when it comes to VAR, what you do is you look at it through your eye. What we're looking at VAR is on lines. It's just a referee has a camera angle and you look to that camera angle basically as you're looking, as you're an audience watching, right? And if to you as a naked eye, if you can see that there is an offside, which is quite clear, if you see a leg that is dangling out or you see, head is dangling out or whatever, you give it as an offside. If you cannot make out, through a naked eye that's offside, you don't give it an offside. Because if I as a fan cannot see a difference, why would I be complaining, right? Or why would I expect a technology to get it right? That's basically what my interpretation is. I know that the rule currently is that you have to look at all these lines, but for me as a common sense implementation, it would be the referee just looks at it through his camera, whatever he's seeing it, and if he sees that it's offside to him without the use of lines, you give it as an offside. If you cannot make it out, you just leave it and say, you know what, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the attacker, and let's move on. I know that they have now introduced a Pandora's box of lines. So if we do decide to go down the common sense route, some people will be like, oh, they used to have these lines and they should keep those lines. Those lines were there, it would be offside, so it's offside. But there's always going to be debate. And I mean, that for me, there needs to be a more common sense interpretation of these rules, which are not happening at this point. They need to change. But you cannot really complain about offsides and things like being on the line because those are the rules. And they're following them, so you can't really do much about it. But it needs to change. There needs to be some sort of interpretation that needs to change there. But I understand your point. I take it. Why would you? I mean, I'm always happy if Liverpool draw or lose games, but at some point it gets silly, right? You're like, oh my god, it's like it's a hand that is offside, or it's a toenail that's offside. It gets a bit ridiculous after a while. But I get your point. But yes, talking about the team, though, we'll try not to talk too much about VAR. We'll talk about the team itself. Yeah, I mean, Firmino in midfield, it looks like a strategy that he has in his back pocket, and probably will use it a little bit more now. The good thing for them, Liverpool, is they don't have to play their best team against Midtjylland in the Champions League. They can probably rest players for this one.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but it looks like something that they have that option to use, and they probably will want to use it.
I mean, that's the advantage you get with players like Salah and Firmino. Uh, I mean, Firmino is not even a striker originally. He is a midfielder, and Firmino looked so comfortable in that role. I mean, usually when you see a striker falling back, unless you're Lionel Messi, it takes some time to adjust. But Firmino just seamlessly got into it. I honestly do see Firmino playing in that role more. Uh, that attacking four was brilliant. Set up pretty well, linked up pretty well. And Firmino is actually he plays his best football when he has that creative role, that support role. So easily, I do see him almost permanently settling back here. And Salah does look like more of a striker. I mean, Salah has always been a bit, well, let's say little less unselfish than Mane, more selfish than most of his teammates too. So he does have that striker's instinct. And yeah, I can easily see this going forward.
Yeah, we talked about
The
Mane. Is Mane the best player in the Premier League right now? Like, I think he is. I think every game that Liverpool win, we talk about him. We talk about the games that he doesn't play. We talk about the games that he doesn't play. Like you see that I just feel like right now I think he is the best player in the Premier League. I don't know what you think. What do you think he's the best player in the Premier League right now?
No, he's definitely underrated. I have to say that. I mean, other than extreme football fans, I don't really hear his name much. Mane is really underrated. He's amazing football player, amazing work rate, amazing determination. I mean, usually players with his level of skill, you don't see that work rate. They tend to slack off at times. But Mane, he when he's pressing, he presses like a defender. When he's running, he runs probably faster than the fastest players there are. I have to give it to him. But it's purely personal preference. Just when it comes to footballing ability, if you will, I'd have to give that best player role to De Bruyne. He's just a class
I know.
apart.
We say he's the best player, but I say right now at this moment in time, if you look at the season from the first game to now, De Bruyne hasn't played a lot. He's been injured, so we haven't seen the best of him yet this season. But I feel right now in
Yeah,
this moment, I would
yeah,
say
yeah.
Mane is right now better. And maybe at the end of the season, we'll say De Bruyne is still the best player in the Premier League. That doesn't change. But I think right now at this moment for this season, for the 6 games that we've seen, I think Mane has been he's been on a different level. I think he's got and De Bruyne has these things that I don't know. Like he's this a magical ability that I say that he can produce a cross out of nowhere. I don't know if he was a priest in a previous life. I don't know what he was, but he can produce a cross out of nowhere. Uh, that's his ability. But yeah, but there's something. Yeah, but Mane is on a higher he's on a new level. He's on a higher level than he was before. I think he's just performing well. But I mean, these are debates. I mean, the sad thing is that we're talking about Liverpool and City players. So maybe other players will step up and be in the conversation. But on that note, and looks like they're getting some consistency. I think Allison coming back, or for all the defensive issues that Liverpool have, Allison coming back for me is a bigger thing than having Van Dijk, because I think Allison really makes that whole defense click in some ways, because he's the player who actually allows them to play from the back. He settles the defense, and his goalkeeping is very, very good. And I think having him back now, even with Van Dijk out, I can't. I mean, I feel like they're going to just walk the league now, just because of the inconsistency in the teams. And we've just seen the Everton Southampton game. By the way, this is being recorded before the Arsenal Leicester game. So if it, I mean, for whatever reason, if we release it after, just know we're not doing the Arsenal Leicester game. But we watched the Everton Southampton game, and Everton have lost. So they're still top of the league, but they're level on points with Liverpool. It looks like Liverpool are getting a bit of consistency now going in their game, and I feel like just because of the other teams being so inconsistent, I think they're going to walk the league. But what do you think, Zeehan? I mean, I just can't see where the challenge is going to come for them from.
I mean, I actually can't disagree with you much. City does not look like the team they were 2 years ago, or just a year and a half ago. And the rest of the big five or big six or whatever you call it, Everton, well, let's be honest. How long did we expect them to be doing what they were doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fact that we're talking about
Uh,
Everton and Spurs and
Everton,
Arsenal
maybe,
being challengers, that
yeah.
just tells you that's something that, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not
So,
disrespect for these teams. I think they're much better. I think on paper these three teams are much better than Manchester United. I'll say that. I'm a United fan. I'll say they're better than Manchester United. But you don't really expect these teams to have a sustained title challenge, because they don't have that experience of having those title challenges. You expect, so you see Chelsea, you see Manchester City, you think, okay, these teams can build a title challenge. You don't expect these other three teams. So if these three are the closest challenges to Liverpool, then you kind of know, then you know the answer already. If that is the answer, then what is the question? And you kind of know, where that's going. So yeah, I mean, I can't see any challenges for Liverpool at this point. I don't know if maybe the only biggest challenge will be VAR and injuries, but it doesn't look like. I mean, those are the only two things that can stop Liverpool. But even if those two things somehow manage to stop Liverpool, it's not like the other teams are putting runs together to challenge them. It's just consistency, and that's not coming.
no, I'm tipping Liverpool to defend the Premier League title.
Yeah,
Manu's record is finally going to be reached.
equal.
Chelsea is going to
Yeah.
need another year to at least settle this team in. City, I don't know. The leadership might be too big of a problem. I don't know what Pep Guardiola does with all that money. He keeps buying players after players. Honestly has no excuse to not win the league. He actually has no excuse not to win the Champions League, let alone the league. But I don't see him doing either of that right now. Manu, with due respect, they need to get
You
into the
don't
first half of.
there is no respect. Like the thing is, so the sad thing is, if they had had a good transfer window, if United had a good transfer window, they would have a
Yeah,
team that would run Liverpool close. I'm not saying they would have won the title, but they would have run Liverpool close, because really, if you get a good centre half, if you get a proper right winger, because that's what was missing against Chelsea, a proper right winger, and Mata doesn't start that game. So then you got a good right winger. You got a midfielder, so that's fine. So if you get those parts, you've then got a decent team that can go in and challenge Liverpool and run them close. But they've not done it. So he's got to rely on other players. And that's not to say Ole is not to blame. I think he has to take some of the blame, at least for the Chelsea game. I think he got a few things wrong. But I mean, it's just, they botched it. And I think that you've got to, it's almost like Liverpool. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, United won a few titles in the 2000s by default, where, they were the only team that showed up. So they kind of like, okay, we'll win it. So it's not a bad thing. These kind of things happen from time to time. You have, and that's hallmark of great teams, is that you win titles by default as well. So Liverpool, I think, will win this title by default, just because they're going to be the only team that puts together a good run, and nobody else is really going to get close. Which is, it's just part of life. It's just part of football sometimes. But it's sad to see. It is sad to see in terms of the competition. But on that note, Everton, yes, they did lose 2-0 to Southampton. They had James Rodriguez. They didn't have Richarlison in the side, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin finally didn't score a goal in a game. It's the first one. I think it's the first time that he's not scored a goal. I think for this season, that's the first time he's not scored. I mean, it's difficult to see what's going to happen with them. Maybe now we're going to start to see a few settling. Aston Villa lost as well, so maybe we're starting to see a settling down of the league, and there might be a little bit more even. We've had a few crazy first few weeks, but I think teams are now starting to catch up to fitness. So it's starting to now sort of settle down. You're going to start seeing teams a bit more bunched closely together. Maybe that's the hope, but we shall see what happens. It's interesting. The Spurs, if they beat Burnley, I think they will be. Then you have to start talking about them as challengers for the title. Maybe I mean, Spurs have got every right to be confident. They've got a very good front three. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It's just a matter of sorting that defense out and making sure that
HBK.
Yeah, HBK. That's right. They've got HBK. Well, either if it's Bale or Bergwijn, it's still HBK. I just realized that it's still HBK, because even if it's Bale or Bergwijn, it doesn't matter unless you put Lucas Moura and then you've got another name. But otherwise, it's HBK. So they got a good front three. I think it's just a matter of getting the concentration in. But I think Burnley, you would hope that they'll beat Burnley. And Burnley is struggling. But we shall see what happens there. Thank you so much for joining me, Zeehan, today. Before we go, though, man of the match for the Liverpool-Sheffield game. What do you think was the man of the match? Mane, yeah. I think it's obvious. We talked about
it. Has to be Mane.
Let's give it to Mane. Yeah, why not? It doesn't matter who had the match of Liverpool. Like I say, I was just chugging along.
No, before we leave, there was actually something I wanted to contribute to your title challengers thing. We did talk about Everton and Tottenham, but see, there's something that I wanted to mention, and it's something I've been thinking about these days. Most of the big teams have young managers nowadays. I mean, all of them are club legends. Juventus with Pirlo, Chelsea with Lampard, Man U with OGS, Madrid with Zidane. The list goes on and on. Ronald Koeman was a Barca legend himself too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you have to give it to them. Managers like Ancelotti and Mourinho, they do obviously have something that these managers don't. They know how they have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, because they failed and they've won so much that they have something that these new managers don't have, and that's called experience. So if we talk about a winning mentality, I'm not going to say Tottenham is a title challenger, but I don't know. I mean, he's done this. He was won the Champions League with Porto. So who knows? I don't know how far Tottenham go. So basically, as I was saying, these new managers, they don't have the experience that the old ones do. Mourinho and Ancelotti have won so much and they failed so many times that they know how to get through each and every situation.
Yeah.
Mourinho's won the Champions League with Porto. I mean, Porto. Today, we might be thinking that, oh my God, they must have been such a big team back then. No, they weren't. In fact, that was a generation where we had the Galacticos, the Barcelonas with the Thuram and the Xavi. We had Man U that was just, I think the team of 99, most of them were still there. Chelsea was just newly making their team, and Porto beat all of them for that. I don't know. I'm not saying Tottenham is a sorry?
We have an intruder who just joined in. We just got an intruder, if you can see. I know. We're almost finishing up, and you join in. Well, no worries.
The worst part is I should have just let it go there. if it was the last bit.
Oh,
Because now
that's hurt.
I really don't have a face here because nothing worked out. So yeah,
Yes, nothing happened this weekend. Well, that's why I was like, yeah, well, maybe Knayha doesn't want to talk because it's been such a horrendous weekend for him overall.
it.
So like, just best.
I was I was at second half when they started. I was like, I can't come on the reaction. Something bad. I, I can't. And then it rained so hard that my internet just went off. And then I was like, yes, divine. That's divine intervention. And I was like, let me just hope that the United game kind of comes up to something. I'm like, what? How is that Mendy guy even saving these shots? Get him out of that goal. Like what?
Oh,
That was a very bad
Imagine if we
game.
got the penalty. Imagine if we got the penalty.
I was like, thank God Bruno didn't get the penalty at least. Heartbreak.
wow, that's a tough one. But well, we're at the end here. But maybe you can walk us through. We'll just ask you a few questions. We already discussed most of the stuff. Zeehan, if you're okay for another 10 minutes, we'll just talk about a few things and we'll ask your reaction
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
But just talk us through as a Barcelona fan what you thought about El Clasico as a game. What
I was really see. I always know that Barca starts very shakily. The first always like their first 10 minutes is like they have no clue where the ball is or they have no idea. It's like they just woke up from sleep and they just went into the game. The 10 minutes are always like that. So when I think no, not Vinicius, who Valverde.
Yeah.
Valverde, he scored the goal. I was like, this is okay. I'm fine with that because after that they woke up and I knew that because Nacho was playing really aggressively. His tackles were very hard. He was not giving any space, like to Jordi Alba as well. And even he was pushing Ansu Fati really bad. Like he was really kicking him hard and all that. So he was really aggressive. But then I knew that was their weak link. When they played Nacho there, he doesn't have pace. So that was their weak link, and they went hard on him because if you see the goal as well, Alba went beyond, and Ansu Fati came cut in to the middle, and Messi went on the wing. If you
Yeah.
that was really well worked. That they knew that Nacho is going to be the weak link, and that's how they went about it. But then after that, they did not. They couldn't push on that left. I was like, what happened? I'm like, they were trying so hard on that left because the whole game was moving towards Ansu only. They were only passing it to him. They were hoping that he will create something. When he even switched to the right side, they were hoping because Messi. I think Messi in that game was not lost. That's how he seemed in the second half in the last 10 minutes when there's
It's funny how every time they pan to him and when he's losing or when he's losing a game, and his face just looks like this is my last game for Barcelona. I have to leave. Like it almost. They look at his face, it's like. I can't do it right now because I'm smiling, but it just has that face, like when you watch a sad movie where a man has just lost everything, or a woman has just lost everything, and she has that blank look, and then it's just like
it's like this. Like Messi, sometimes after this course, the Messi was like this.
that's his look when things are not good. But when Barca are losing, it's just like he's like about to cry or whatever, and
I'm like,
that the next that in his mind is like I'm leaving.
Yeah, he's like, why am I on the pitch? Why am I on the pitch right now?
I know exactly. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And then
Like I said,
they've tried
it's
that
like this
cutback.
toxic relationship. He just can't get out of it.
And the cutback, like Messi is known for his cutback now. Like everybody knows he's going to cut back. Like everybody in the whole world knows Messi is famous for that. One without touching the ball, just on the through with his left, kind of slotting it in. Everybody knows now. They will not let him an inch. Like you saw the shots, 5 shots he made the same way. All the 5 shots were blocked. And Ramos was like a wall. Ramos was like, bring it on.
Was
I'll
that a
show you. I'll show you how you.
Was that a penalty?
No, that was not a penalty. No.
Okay.
No,
Well,
I don't think.
Well, Gian thinks it's a penalty.
No, I don't.
That's a penalty.
I don't think that was a penalty. I think
Penalty any day.
that moment. I think at that moment it just felt it would have been too harsh then, in my view, because the game was progressing well. The game was progressing. Like if you see the whole game, at that moment it was progressing well. It was just that if that would have happened, it would have been really physical then. Then it would have been really dirty. That's how I.
Wait, I'm talking about the penalty that Madrid got. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying that that was a penalty, because the idea being at that time, the game had been really balanced.
Mm-hmm.
See, VAR and all these checks, eventually they do come to a point where you are like, okay, maybe not. But then, it's a decision. I think VAR,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Koeman going about it in the press interview saying that is VAR only bad for Barca and nothing is happening for other teams. I was like, that's just ranting now. I'm like, fine, you lost. Neto was your best player on the field for the second half, and you should be proud that you have somebody at Neto. Otherwise, it would have been 5-1. So, I, so that game was basically in the second half. I just felt they were completely lost. And the changes that he was trying to make, he was pushing, but then Dembele doesn't pick up. The problem with Dembele is like when you bring him on a sub, if the team is not at a level, he can't perform. He is not a player who picks up a team and then who picks up from the point he has got in and then starts creating something. He's always been a player where the team is rather he's playing from the start and he's finding his way. You have to give him some time to understand where does he cut in, because he lost the ball every time he touched when he came on as well. And I was like, that's not what Dembele is gone for. He should be. There should be something more coming from him. And yeah, and last 10 minutes, Piqué. I was like, where is Piqué? Like, is Piqué a forward or a defender?
Maybe he thought he can be the Ramos to, he can be. Oh, and we lost Zeehan again. So yeah, he's been having issues. But yeah, maybe he thought he could be Ramos and also get, a shot away or something.
The problem was that the goal, the Modric goal. The Modric goal was so interesting. I could not see Piqué anywhere. I was like, where is he? And the two shots that Neto saved before that, I was like, where is Piqué? Why is Neto saving all these? Like, where is the defense line to clear it? Like, is he playing alone? That was shambles. That was really shambles.
We talked about that. Maybe they lost their heads or something. That once you go down.
Yeah, it was basically like I think something it just triggered something really bad in them. I don't know what actually caused that reaction, but then it was not that good. And you don't see that from Barca. I felt Barca is very good at holding the game. When they were 2-1 down, in my view, they should have just held on.
Mm-hmm.
Held on the game. They should have simply taken off Messi and said that we'll put a CDM, we'll put a defender, we'll want to defend. Just don't concede one more, because 3-1 looks worse than 2-1.
Well, but you are obligated as a manager to go when you're 2-1 down. You have to fight for 2-2. You can't just say.
But the problem is, let me ask you a question. Like, did you see any spark from Barca in that second half? I couldn't. I was like looking for somebody who could provide something. I couldn't find anybody.
I really feel like you're talking like a fan here. I mean, Barca honestly were the better offensive team. Even being a Madrid fan, I have to say this. Barca were better offensively. Madrid were very good defensively. The defense was, like you said, Ramos was a wall. He was a rock. But Barca did seem to threaten more than Madrid did. I feel.
At least until the last 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
At least until then. Yes, Barca's defense. Oh my God, I don't think I've seen anything as bad. But
you might have missed that 6-1 game, Spurs against United. I can tell you that's if you want to see something bad, then you see that one. It's
you might have missed the 8-2 game.
Oh no, I watched that one. Oh no, I watched the 8-2 game. But see, the 8-2
I watched the 8-2 game and I was like, I will still watch this game. And scored 10.
I watched the 8-2 game. I think that one was I don't know. You can take your pick of which one is worse. I don't know. I think the 6-1 game for me. Maybe because I've seen the 6-1 game as a fan and I wasn't a fan for the 8-2 one, so that was like comedy. It was just tragedy, when you watch. And it was a tragic comedy because you know what's coming and you still watch it. Like you can't take your eyes off of it. But the worst part is, at least the 8-2 game, I didn't have to do anything. For the 6-1, I had to do a reaction after that. So you can imagine what my mind was. The only saving grace is that Liverpool played after that. So we were all a bit, okay, well, now we can be a bit happy about it because Liverpool lost 7-2.
True story. True story. I am a United fan. My brother is a Liverpool fan. So my father was watching the game with my brother at home, at our parental home. So my father is messaging me. Like, my brother deliberately made my father watch the Man United game. So the scoreline is 6-1, and my father calls me and he's like, "What is happening? Like, why are they playing like this?" I'm like, "Why did he make you watch that game? Why? Because why did my brother make you watch it?" And I was like, "It's fine. We'll wait for the Liverpool game." And when they start scoring, and I just messaged my father. I'm like, "Did you watch that game?" I messaged him in the morning. He's like, "No, no. What was the score?" And I was like, 7-2. He was like, so that was like amazing. I was so happy. And then he was like, he was bantering my brother. I was like, "Oh, you both worse." There's
Well,
no
I mean,
point.
we are getting a bit off track here, but I know we're a bit over time. I know the fans probably, and then if there are any people watching this video, I think by this point they're probably all like, "Yeah, well, this is going into territory. We don't need to watch this, so we're going to cut off." But Kenny, I think I'll just ask you. We're not going to go into too much detail, but what were your thoughts on the Chelsea United game? Just very quick.
I think it was a drag in my view. I think Neto. I think not Neto. I think the only player was Mendy. United did what they wanted to do. They played aggressively. They were very aggressive in the start. That's how they, because they wanted to put Chelsea a little back on themselves, because if they had let space to Havertz and all, just to give them some time on the ball, it would have been really, and the lineup just showed that, like, Fred and McTominay proved in the PSG game that we can stop world class players.
Yeah.
What I was really happy was seeing the Mata Bruno link. I was like, wow, where is this coming from? Like, where have you been?
Yeah,
That
I wasn't sure if starting Mata was the right decision. I don't think Mata, James, both of them should not have started.
Yeah, I think on the James part, I agree with you. I didn't like, because James is he does not provide the same prowess that Greenwood does. I don't know if he has kind of felt a way that Greenwood is better than me, and he just kind of lacks that confidence. I don't know what has happened, because he's a really good player. He's a really direct player. He runs at you. He will come straight at you, and he'll just cut through and give a pass or shoot out. But Greenwood has been has really on a different confidence level, I would say. Starting, I think, because we had two James on the left, like James, they had Reese, and we had our own James.
Yes.
The matchup didn't play for me. I didn't understand why, but then I think that match was a drag. Eventually, both were very strong defensively. Mendy was doing really well, and I think it would have been better if a 1-0 would any which way would have been seemed very harsh. Like, the other team would have said that we were demanding to win. It was our game, and we just lost 3 points because of this. But then that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think it was when I say drag, in a good sense, that it shows that there are tactical benefits to both teams. Both teams can play tactically. Both teams can implement plans, and then actually can cross each other. Like, that was really interesting to see. I really like that. And Pulisic, how Fred and McTominay were trying to assert themselves, and how it's still finding that one space, and that through ball that he put to Werner in the first half. I was like, that was brilliant, because they were not giving him any space. They were closing. The defense was kind of keep picking up. They were also sometimes playing a high line. They're still going back, just not to allow space in the mid, and then just compacting the game in. But that was the only chance that I felt where I think Ole also went to Ole wanted something else from Rashford was when he made that shot. That was the one point. That was the one through ball and the one mistake that Chelsea did, and that was like a ricochet, and then he just came back to Bruno and he passed it to Mata, and then Mata had a through ball to Rashford. He could have just chipped it over. There was too much space. He went for the post, I think, but then Mendy was amazing.
Sort of shot that he did against
really good.
Like that. But anyway, Zeehan, sorry you still lost connection there, and we were kind of wrapping up. But we were talking about Liverpool and title challengers. We think Liverpool are going to walk the league. I think that's pretty much a given. But you were talking about Ancelotti and Mourinho, and how experience counts for that. It's probably not the best time to talk about it after what happened between Everton and Southampton. But I get your general point. It's Knayha, do you think that we're talking about challenges, we're talking about Everton and Spurs, and Arsenal, and that basically, that tells everyone like what's going to happen is that Liverpool are going to win the league, because you wouldn't expect these guys to challenge. But do you have an alternating view about what's going to happen this season, like in terms of just consistency? There's no team finding.
I think this has been really weird. The season is really weird. Like, you have a team who's winning all games, and like Aston Villa, I was like, okay, let's talk about, even I was thinking Aston Villa. I'm like, what happened there? Who would have? And they've been undefeated, and then suddenly you're like, oh, anything can happen. And then that's the same thing with what happened with Everton. So this league currently is, I don't really know what's happening. I really don't. That's the psychiatric part of it. But I think this is really showing the character. Like, where you don't have fans. You don't have fans. The games are coming thick and fast. Your weaknesses are kind of getting blown out of proportion. You have to have a fourth. You have to have a mental. It's much more psychological now. You have to kind of find your own resolve and be like, we have done. Liverpool are best place to do it, because the motivation is that they've just won the Premier League title, and they will not want to be one-time winners. And this is the best occasion to kind of be like, we won back-to-back.
Yeah.
They have the best motivation. When I say psychologically, they have the best motivation. But we have seen Pep was struggling. Pep was struggling in that game. But Pep has this, I don't know, evil genius plans or something. He's like Mojo Jojo or something, like, where it kind of comes up with something and finds the motivation. So I really see this Liverpool is I think should win the title, but in my view, as an alternative, I would say it could be Arsenal, because we have seen Arteta, a very astute. He knows the plan. He plays it very simple. He goes with a game plan. He sticks to it no matter what. He is drilling that into his team. You see his team, they're young, they're to be nurtured. And I think that's where I see also that could be a surprise. I really think Arsenal could actually also be title contenders.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll happen. I'm just going to quickly check the score, because as I mentioned, we're doing this while the Arsenal-Leicester game. We started before, and I think the game has started now. Oh no, that's later. Yeah, it's Wolves Newcastle.
Arsenal Leicester. Wolves Newcastle is playing now. Yeah. Arsenal Leicester is later.
It may or may not come out before then. We will see. But on that note, I think we've got the final comments there. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I think you guys are being too generous. I think Liverpool are going to watch. That's my feeling. And it's not hyperbole. I think it's just the way that I'm seeing it develop. But well, thank you so much, Zeehan, for joining in. And this went a bit longer than we thought it would. But thank you for joining, sharing your views. Thank you, Knayha, for joining in, including our show.
Sorry for that. I was.
Well, I sent you the link. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. I sent you the link. It's fine.
You literally came in right the perfect. I mean, just 1 minute later, and it would have been done.
Yeah,
I think 30 seconds.
Yeah.
30 seconds,
well, if your call hadn't dropped at that point, then yes, you would have been.
Thanks,
you should thank my internet connection.
Yeah, thank you. I am thanking some internet connection since yesterday.
I know. It's like, technical issues that we were having. But thank you so much, guys, for joining in and sharing your views. Hopefully, this coming week will be better than what has gone by. I mean, hopefully, I really wouldn't want to see it getting much worse from what it has been. But we've got some big games this week. We've got Real Madrid against Borussia Mönchengladbach. We've got Barcelona as well in the Champions League. They are taking on, what are they taking on, Knayha? You need to check that? Oh, okay. I thought you were. Okay.
Barca is taking.
Is it
taking Juventus?
Wow, that's right. Yes, it's Barca against Juventus.
All right, I forgot. Right, yes.
Well, Ronaldo is not going to play.
Ronaldo is not going to play. He's tested positive again, so yeah.
He's tested positive again, so he's not going to play. But we'll be investing in that one. Will be interesting. Barca against Juventus, and then
Atlanta Ajax will be nice. Ajax after scoring 13 goals. Yes, please.
Oh, I know. 13 goals from Ajax. That was an interesting game. Ajax 13 goals.
It was like FIFA 21.
That one player scored 5 and assisted 3, right?
Traore scored 5. Yeah, that was Traore scored 5. Klaas-Jan Huntelaar scored a goal as well. United fans might remember him as a player who was going to join them back in the 2000s and the late 2000s. A player who was supposed to join them, but of course,
United probably remembers all of these players like these. I mean, I don't know how many players United remembers like these that almost joined United.
Well, he is ex-Real Madrid though. Just so played 6 months for Real Madrid. Yeah, ex-Real Madrid, ex-AC Milan. Interesting career for Clasico Huntelaar. One of my favorite players from FIFA 2007, 2008 when I used to play.
Yeah, no,
Always used to
yes,
be in my team. But yes, yeah, he scored a goal as
The
well.
fastest player, but I think he had 95 or 96 finishing.
Yeah, he was a good finisher. He wasn't fast, but he was a very good finisher. And I think
yeah.
that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why he never went to United, because he wasn't fast. So he was never signed for that reason. Because then we had Berbatov, so you didn't really need
Yes.
another slow player. But anyway, yeah. So 13-0. We've got United against Leipzig. That's a big game as
Leipzig, yeah.
well. And Chelsea are going to be playing against
Krasnodar.
this. I'm sorry.
Krasnodar.
Yeah, Krasnodar, yes, in Russia. So yeah, that's a gimme
Yes.
game. Yeah, they're all easy games. City are playing Marseille as well. Liverpool are playing Michelin. So I mean, they're all easy games. Only one really. Yeah, United
The
get.
Atletico game will be interesting. Atletico and Salzburg. That will be good.
Yes, that would be a good game. And that group, well, Atletico need to win because after what happened
Yes.
against Bayern, they need to win.
Yes.
So that will be a very, very interesting game.
It'll
feel
be really
sorry for
interesting to see
Suarez.
Barcelona playing against. It'll be interesting.
Suarez's last two Champions League games has been 12 goals against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, no, Suarez, right? Yeah, no, he's not. Well, I mean, it's a sad thing for Suarez, but maybe he'll pick up. Maybe he'll pick up form now. It's interesting as well. Salzburg has some very stars of the future, so it'll be a good one to check as well, just to see the players that you might see.
That's Leipzig and Salzburg have always been providing like really great talent.
Yeah.
I think there's two really nice clubs for youth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so something to keep an eye out as well. A good shopping.
An interesting thing, we should probably talk about this sometime. I'll just bring it up. Upamecano and Konate, I think.
Yep.
Two extremely talented defenders. Why is nobody on the market for them?
Upamecano has a release clause that will be activated next year for 40 million pounds release clause. He signed a new contract with that. So next year he will leave for sure. So they just need to work out. I think that was a mistake. I think United could have signed him last year. They paid 45 million pounds. You tell them that we're going to pay you 45 million pounds. You're going to get 40 next year. You might as well get extra 5. They would have got him, but we're run by a bunch of idiots. So that fell apart. Like the theory is they will go in for him next year. Like they're gonna get him
next year.
Yeah, Ed, you're not gonna get Upamecano next year. You can be assured of that.
That's what City is going to buy. That City is perfect. They're like waiting. They're like already how much?
Who are they? Okay, yeah. Well,
I think they already paid in advance. I'm very sure they paid in advance.
Well, no, I think he might go to Bayern. I think that is the feeling right now, is that he might go to Bayern. That is because Bayern like him.
That'll be interesting to see where he goes actually.
Yeah. Konate, I think he just transferred this year. I think he's a new signing. I don't think he was there last year. I'm not sure. But,
he was.
He was? Oh, okay. I'm not sure why Konate. But I think Konate is one of those defenders. I think because they see that Upamecano is very good, so maybe they feel like, is Konate really that good on his own, or is he good because of Upamecano? So there's that thing. So maybe a year or two. After Upamecano goes, and then he'll probably come into his own. So we'll see. But Upamecano is very highly rated, and he will be on next year. Just depends to be seen where he will go.
A lot of clubs need a good defense. So
Oh my, yeah. Well, that's just good defenders are in short supply anyway. This right now, I think
we definitely need some defenders.
Yeah. Well, Chelsea need
Thiago Silva. We're here. Thiago Silva is here for a year.
You got Malang Sarr. Isn't that who you signed, Malang Sarr? Isn't that the?
Yeah, but he's what, 17 or 18 right now, right? I mean, not everyone's Rafael Varane.
I thought he's just 22. It's a 21, 22, no? Isn't he?
No, he's a teenager.
Is he? Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, how are these guys so teenagers? They all
22.
22, yeah. Because I remember seeing him.
My bad.
Oh yeah, he's 22. Oh yeah, no,
Right,
21. Right. He's 21. He'll be 22 next year. Yeah. So and he's got a long loan. He'll come back. He'll be here. You've got Tomori. You've got Sarr. You've got a decent young center. Leave some players for others to sign at Chelsea and Zeehan. The other teams need players as well. No,
I think you already know who others are.
Yeah, well, I think it will be Bayern. That will go to, or maybe Manchester City. If City plump up a lot of cash, which they want to sign centre halves because Lord knows they need them. Even though there are so many of them, they still seem to need them. But what they need is the left back, though. They don't need a centre half; they need a left back. But anyway, anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But it'll be a good game. I think Leipzig United will be a good game. I think United will see what they're missing. If we had time, we'd do predictions, but I think we're already way over time, and I think people are probably already bored. But I mean, you could talk about it all along. But thank you so much, guys, for joining. I know it's late at night, so you guys probably want to get some sleep. And it's a Monday tomorrow, so it's back to work day as well. I don't know if you guys are. It's mostly work from home these days. But I don't wanna be the reason for your unproductivity at work. But no, I'm just kidding. But thank you guys. If you enjoyed this video and this really mishmash, I don't even know what to call it, but this mishmash whole thing that we've just done, please remember to like and share with your friends, family. You can also subscribe to our channel. We don't do as many, I'll say this, we don't do as many of these type of videos, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you subscribe, if we get more subscribers, then we'll know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. But remember to subscribe to our channel as well. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. We are well on our way now. We're at 106 right now, so try to help us get to that goal. So please remember to subscribe, and we'll see you again this week with a few more match reactions and the preview show. We're thinking of doing something different, so we'll keep you updated on what we do with these shows. But in the meantime, please have a good day, have a good week, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you for joining. Really nice.
Yeah. What do you? I was just thinking. Do you?
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to that episode of Late Night Football. We need your help to grow this channel, so if you've been enjoying the show thus far, please do like and subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, drinking buddies, fellow football fans, and anybody else you know or don't know. We'd really appreciate it. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We have the links in the description below, and spread the word about us. Take care.